Part 129. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1281. Think of this. Xiaoxian couldn't help but glance at the old man in the valley secretly. At this time, the face of the old man in the valley seemed a little unnatural, which also made Xiaoxian notice. However, the old man in the valley is also a strong man in the saint realm after all. Xiaoxian didn't want to expose it directly, so he simply continued to read the Sun Bible, wanting to see how much introduction there was to this aspect later. After looking for a while, he actually discovered something. You know, before, under the advice of the system, the path Xiaoxian chose was the path of chaos. This kind of Dao is a Dao that embraces all things and swallows all things. Therefore, the great path that Xiaoxian practiced before also contained some understanding of the way of fire. In addition, he has training experience in Bian Valley. Therefore, he has a more or less simple understanding of the Nine Heavens Flame technique in the Sun Bible. Even though his understanding has not yet reached the level of the old man of the valley, understanding the fifth level, but based on his previous life's cultivation process, he thinks that understanding one or two levels should not be a big problem. Thinking of this, he also began to try to understand. Unexpectedly, he changed his mind and the power of the avenue in the Meridian Sea slowly operated according to the guidance in the Sun Bible. In an instant, a fierce and majestic flame power burned up within a radius of 10 kilometers. It was instantly burned with fierce flames. This scene also made the old man in the valley suddenly open his eyes and look at Xiaoxian in disbelief. He could tell at a glance. Xiaoxian's Nine Heavens Flame technique has actually reached the first level. This simply made the old man in the valley a little unbelievable. Back then, when he was practicing the Nine Heavens Flame Ju, it took him 5 years of practice before he could successfully cultivate the first level of the Nine Heavens Flame Ju. But now, Xiaoxian succeeded in practicing in less than 2 hours. Such a talent! It can be described as unbelievable. It seems that what you practiced before was not a fire technique. The old man in the valley couldn't help but widen his eyes and looked at the flames on Xiaoxian's body in disbelief. Indeed, what this junior practices is chaos swordsmanship. Perhaps in the way of chaos, there is some understanding of the way of fire, so I must have some understanding after practicing the Nine Heavens Flame art. Xiaoxian also answered truthfully. Yes, this is the first time I have seen such a talented practitioner. The old man in the valley nodded. What do you understand about the Nine Heavens Flame Ju? I can't talk about understanding. I can only say that the understanding of flames here is indeed profound. Xiaoxian hesitated for a moment, but it said that if you can understand the 9th level of the Tao, you can know the most original secret on the Dao continent. Isn't this a bit exaggerated? He had a reason for asking. After all, he had some understanding of Dao continent. There are thousands of avenues in this continent, and each of them is extremely difficult to cultivate to the extreme. When it comes to the true origin of the continent, maybe it's chaos, maybe it's the source, maybe it's heaven and earth. Nameless fire. Xiaoxian also secretly remembered it. Ah! Such words also surprised Xiaoxian. Indeed. So Saint of the Valley, your fall, is there no chance of resurrection? Xiaoxian couldn't help but ask. It is rumored that you can be reborn with blood when you reach the Dragon God realm. As a saint, you should also be reborn. Means. He originally thought that the reason why the old man in the valley fell was because he encountered some powerful enemy. Who knows, but he just went crazy in his cultivation. This is. Xiaoxian was surprised. But then the saint realm appeared again. I feel ashamed to say that after 10,000 years of cultivation, I am only at the 5th level of the Nine Heavens Flame art. Naturally, I cannot understand the most original secrets of the Dao continent. The old man in the valley also said. The old man of the valley sighed. It's not true. Yes, according to my observation, this flame is not an ordinary flame. If you understand the nine heavens flame art in the future, you can have some understanding of this flame, which should be of great help to your practice, the old man in the valley reminded. Thank you, Saint of the Valley. Xiao Xian also nodded seriously. Hearing these words, Xiao Xian couldn't help but be stunned. Does it mean that as a saint, you don't have the opportunity to touch the ninth level? Are you a little too humble? So why is it said that in the nine heavens flame Jew, one can understand the most original secret of the great Dao continent by comprehending the ninth level? Isn't this a bit of an exaggeration? Ah, Xiao Xian couldn't help being stunned. A strong man in the saint realm, who has been practicing for thousands of years, has encountered countless adventures. Whether it is body or soul, he should be extremely top-notch. Why would he encounter such a situation? However, this distance is probably still too far for you. At least for the time being, you should not get close. At least you have to reach the saint realm or a higher realm before you can truly understand it, the old man in the valley said, taking out his pocket. He took out a red pill. The old man in the valley seemed to have started talking. At that time, I also took a fancy to the nameless fire in this flame cemetery, hoping to use it to understand the sixth level of the nine heavens flame art. Unexpectedly, it failed. This, I don't know either. So how terrifying is this nine heavens flame Jew? Just the sixth level can make a saint level expert fall. Then when you reach the seventh level, the eighth level, or even the legendary ninth level, wouldn't it mean the destruction of a continent? Once upon a time, he just thought that when he reached the dragon god realm, he would be the pinnacle of the Dao continent. But what Xiao Xian didn't expect was. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian also took a breath of air. 10,000 years, it's just the fifth level. Xiao Xian also tasted it secretly. Isn't this a bit dramatic? Yes, if you can comprehend the ninth level one day, I will ask you for advice on how to do it, the old man in the valley said. Speaking of which, I probably have little chance. Now, even the saint realm cannot withstand the sixth level of the nine heavens flame art. Doesn't it mean that there will be stronger people above the saint realm? A stronger state? Is this great Dao continent really so unfathomable? Just because he went too far in his cultivation, he died. However, rebirth is too difficult. Isn't it true that I've already fallen into disgrace now? Speaking of which, it was when I was attacking the sixth level of the nine heavens flame technique that I accidentally went crazy, which led to the current result. This is the ancient flame elixir, and I got it by chance. Since you are so talented, I will give this flame elixir to you, the old man in the valley said casually. With this thing, it will help you break through the nine heavens flame art number 2 layer. It shouldn't be a problem. The first question he asked the old man in the valley was rejected like this. But it cannot be the only flame among the 5 elements. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1282. Ancient Flame Elixir. This elixir can increase the nine heavens flame Jew by 2 levels? Old man in the valley, are you telling the truth? Xiao Xian was a little surprised. In fact, through his own understanding and obtaining the first level of the nine heavens flame art, he had already felt that this power was unusual. According to his prediction, the old man in the valley should not lie to others. Then, if he really reaches the ninth level of the nine heavens flame art, it seems that he can really understand the most original power of the Dao continent. Although, with his current level, it is a bit difficult to achieve this goal. But Xiao Xian is confident enough. Even if his realm will not improve very quickly in a short period of time, he believes that he will eventually understand all of these, but there may still be some processes to go. What power do you want? Do you really want to reach the ninth level of the nine heavens flame art? The old man in the valley had some doubts on his face. and looked at Xiao Xian in surprise. To know. Even as a strong person in the saint realm. However, the old man in the valley himself understands that it is not that simple to obtain these powers, and if you want to break through the last few levels of the nine heavens flame art, you need to find the holy fire between heaven and earth. However, not to mention that those holy fires are extremely mysterious and difficult to find. Even if they are found, if they are not powerful enough, there is no way to conquer them, and they will suffer backlash if they are not careful. The nameless fire in this flame cemetery is the most obvious example. Even though the old man in the valley was in the saint realm, he was unable to compete with such a powerful fire power, and in the end he had no choice but to die. Fortunately, before conquering the flames, he made some preparations and finally managed to leave a remnant of his soul in the flame cemetery. Even so, the old man in the valley was also wary of the nameless fire in the flame cemetery, and he was even more deeply impressed by the strength of the holy fire. You know, before. As a strong man in the saint realm, Old Man Valley originally thought that with his power, it would not be that difficult to forcibly swallow some low-level holy fires. But the final result really surprised him. Even the nameless flames like the flame cemetery were unbearable for him. If he hadn't already made arrangements, he might have lost his life. Now, I heard Xiao Xian's words. The old man in the valley was also extremely surprised. He didn't expect that Xiao Xian could actually say such words. This could explain some problems, at least it proved that he was relatively confident. For this, the old man in the valley still looked a little curious. After all, a person like Xiao Xian did not show much strength. Even if he had some talent in flame cultivation, he would not be able to make such an awesome oath. In this case, are you still very confident? However, you know, getting the holy fire is not that simple. The old man in the valley also said. Xiao Xian was not surprised by the reaction of the old man in the valley. After all, his realm lay here. No matter who it is, most people will feel some disdain in their hearts when they see him in this state. However, this does not make Xiao Xian feel depressed. Since embarking on the path of cultivation, he has slapped countless cultivators in the face. Even the old man in the valley who is in the saint realm, he has never seen how afraid he is. After all, there was a time. He has met many gods and saints, and almost without exception, these people's attitudes towards him are all arrogant and respectful. At first, I just thought Xiao Xian was a weak person. However, he later proved himself step by step and became the top powerhouse on any continent. This nine heavens flame technique is so powerful at the first level. If he can get the fifth level in the future, wouldn't he also become a strong man in the saint realm? Not to mention, reaching the final ninth floor. The old man in the valley will not stand idly by, at least, he will do his best to help Xiao Xian improve his strength. However, if you want to improve your strength, sit on it and practice. Say this. The old man of the valley said with a smile. Valley Saint, what do you mean? Xiao Xian couldn't help but have a little doubt on his face. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian couldn't help but become fascinated. Are you wondering how to get these powers? The old man in the valley also asked. Xiao Xian just moved closer. But things are different now. If he could use the help of the old man in the valley to practice a few more levels of the nine heavens flame art, this would definitely be a quick way to improve his strength. Speaking of which, it seems that these methods are indeed needed. Therefore, face the old man of the valley at this time. Feeling the frightening temperature change above him, he retreated involuntarily. However, what he is more curious about now is how the old man in the valley practiced the nine heavens flame art to the fifth level step by step. What exactly did he go through? At least now, ordinary people will not challenge the holy fire so easily. As Xiao Xian himself said, the holy fire is indeed not something that anyone can challenge. Just like now, he is only a small golden god, and swallowing the holy fire is indeed a bit whimsical. The old man from the valley waved his hand. On the altar of ice and fire, flames or ice and snow flickered from time to time, and the temperature was sometimes hot and sometimes bitterly cold. But it made the old man in the valley nod frequently. Xiaoxian didn't necessarily have much fear. In front of Xiaoxian, a large ice and fire altar suddenly appeared. Although, on the path of cultivation, other people's experiences may not necessarily be replaceable. He could see that Xiaoxian was indeed a very enterprising person, and at least for now, the way he showed it satisfied him. But it has to be admitted. Since the old man in the valley can have such an experience, his experience will have some reference value. Xiaoxian also asked directly, I have long heard that if you want to get enough power, you need the help of the holy fire, but, with my current strength, it is a bit difficult to swallow the holy fire. In addition to the fastest method of seizing the holy fire, you can also use my unique ice and fire training methods. This method can at least allow you to upgrade the 9 Heavens flame art to the 5th level. Good. As for the other aspect, if you can stay on the ice and fire altar for just 1 stick of incense, you can reach the 2nd level of the 9 Heavens flame art. Since Xiaoxian is already qualified to receive his inheritance. After all, from now on, the holy fire mentioned by the old man in the valley is also a means and method to improve strength. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1283. 1 stick of incense time. Isn't this, such a huge power not that simple? Looking at the power on the ice and fire altar, it seems that it is not that simple. Xiaoxian became a little cautious. At this time, looking at the ice and fire altar in front of him, he only glanced at it briefly and already felt the terrifying temperature coming from it. Not to mention the time it takes to burn an incense stick. I'm afraid it would be difficult for him to hold on even for a second. This altar of ice and fire, I'm afraid it has a low-level grade, right? Is such a precious thing just given to me? Xiaoxian also had a look of surprise on his face. Yes, this is an authentic Earth-level magic weapon. The old man in the valley also nodded and said. Thank you, Saint. Xiaoxian also nodded in gratitude. Oh. As a cultivator of the little golden god realm, you are worthy of such gratitude for a mere low-level magic weapon. Regarding Xiaoxian's reaction, old man Gu was a little surprised and said directly, don't you have a few decent cultivation magic weapons? Say this. If you put it on other people, maybe it is also a normal thing. After all, the little golden god realm is not a very high realm. However, among some ordinary sects, he can be considered a core disciple. Not to mention, Xiao Xuanming's realm is the little golden god realm. But in fact, his fighting power is definitely no less than that of the golden god realm. No matter what sect he is placed in, such a character is also the target of key training. He has several high-level treasures on his body. This should be a matter of course. But now it seems that Xiaoxian actually has nothing on him. This really surprised them. Don't you have a sect? The old man in the valley also looked puzzled. Aren't the disciples who can be chosen by me not the core disciples of my sect? This junior is on the Great Dao continent, and there is no formal sect yet. Xiaoxian said a little helplessly, if you really want to talk about it, the Yuling sect of Nanzan Hai's who is one. Say this. The old man in the valley was obviously a little surprised. In fact, the old man in the valley cannot say that he has a great impression of ordinary casual cultivators. In his opinion, among those cultivators without any sect, even if there are a few outstanding ones, they mostly rely on chance encounters or magic weapons, not their own strength. Instead, there are some cultivators with sects. At least they relied on their own cultivation and became powerful step by step. More importantly, these people did not know how to practice evil techniques, so they went astray. However, the old man in the valley really didn't expect that such a talented disciple as Xiao Xian would be just a casual cultivator without a sect. In that case, then I'll give you a holy magic weapon. The old man in the valley said, and also took out a red gold thunder bell. This bell is called Nan Tukang Thunder Bell. It contains the power of wind and thunder for thousands of years. Once released, even the strong ones in the dragon god realm will be wiped out. Here's a meeting gift for you. Hearing this, Xiao Xian was also surprised. A strong man in the dragon god realm? Completely wiped out? Are you sure this isn't just random talk? You know, in his impression, a practitioner in the dragon god realm is already a very strong cultivator, but now he can be killed by a bell? Is this definitely true? Is what you said, Saint of the Valley, true? Xiao Xian was somewhat unconvinced. How can such a small bell have such great power? Of course, this is also the power that a holy magic weapon should have, the old man in the valley said casually. What? Holy steps? Saint, you seem to have many similar magic weapons. Xiao Xian's face became more curious, and he asked directly, in that case, why not bring out a few more? As expected. After he said this, he also received a big look from the old man in the valley. Could it be that you really think that holy magic weapons are readily available? The old man in the valley glared at Xiao Xian and said directly. That's not true. However, old man valley, you are a strong man in the saint realm. If you want to get a saint level magic weapon, it doesn't seem that difficult, right? Xiao Xian also asked carefully. After hearing such words, the old man in the valley seemed to have a smile on his face, and then said, although this is true, holy magic weapons are not extraordinary objects and cannot be given away casually. Hear this. After Xiao Xian was stunned for a moment, his face became a little more curious. The old man in the valley just said that he would not give it away casually, so if there are sufficient conditions, would he give it away? Thinking of this, Xiao Xian also smiled and asked, I don't know, Senior, what other conditions do you have? As long as I can achieve it, I will work hard. It's obvious. The old man in the valley didn't expect Xiao Xian to ask this. At the moment, he nodded slightly, and then continued, if you really want to get the holy weapon, you can master the 5th level of the 9 heavens flame art within 3 years, and I will give you another broken holy weapon. After saying this, Xiao Xian was relatively happy at first, but when he heard what happened later, his face became a little helpless. Broken holy vessel? What kind of trouble is this old man in the valley going to make? In his opinion, it should be easy to take out a few sacred weapons with the identity and status of the old man in the valley. Why are you still acting so arrogant now? Is this a bit too stingy? What's more, it's just a broken holy weapon. Speaking of which, if he had really cultivated to the 5th level of the 9 heavens flame technique, he should be a master of the saint realm at least. Why would he need to break a holy weapon? How? Don't you think I'm stingy? The old man in the valley is so smart. He glanced at Xiao Xian at this moment and understood what he meant. In response, Xiao Xian also nodded awkwardly, without comment. Humph, don't be too dissatisfied, kid. The old man in the valley shook his head. I tell you the truth, the things I give you are priceless treasures if you put them outside. Let's just say that if this Nan Tukang Thunder Bell is placed in an underground auction, it will be no less than any sacred weapon in heaven and earth. As for the broken sacred artifact I mentioned, if it can be repaired, it will be a real artifact. Artifact. This time, Xiao Xian was a little stunned. He has been on Daodao continent for a short time, but he has never heard of such a thing as a divine weapon. Listening to what the old man in the valley meant, Could it be said that artifacts are more powerful than holy weapons? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1284. Artifact. What kind of existence is the artifact? Xiao Xian couldn't help but have doubts on his face when he looked at the old man in the valley. Speaking of which, ever since I came to Daodao continent, he really had never heard of the artifact. As for the most powerful magic weapon, he thought it was just a holy weapon. But now it seems that this magic weapon is obviously more powerful than the holy weapon. This was also something he was curious about. What he is more concerned about is, if this so-called artifact is more powerful than the holy weapon, how powerful will it be? The holy weapon can already kill strong men in the dragon god realm. So, couldn't the divine weapon be able to kill a saint? This also made Xiao Xian secretly frightened. You know, in his opinion, let alone the saint realm, even the dragon god realm is almost immortal on the Dao continent. And this artifact is so powerful? If he could obtain the complete artifact, wouldn't it mean that he would have no rivals on the Dao continent? Figure this out. Xiao Xian's face also gained a bit of solemnity, and he asked directly, "Dare I ask the Saint of the Valley, how should I practice the 5th level of the 9 Heavens flame art?" Ha ha ha. As expected of you. Right now, you haven't even succeeded in practicing the most basic 2nd level, so you just want to reach the 5th level in one step? Isn't it a bit too much? The old man in the valley smiled. Hearing this, Xiao Xian scratched the back of his head in embarrassment and explained, "Hey, you still have to have dreams as a human being. As a cultivator, if you don't have dreams, what's the difference between you and a salted fish?" For his trash talk from the earth. The old man in the valley was obviously a bit unresponsive at first, but later he roughly understood what Xiao Xian meant. However, Xiao Xian's ambition was what he wanted to see. As a cultivator, you should indeed have some so-called motivation, that is, no matter how many difficulties lie ahead, at least you should not give up casually. For a cultivator of the little golden god realm. Golden god realm, dragon god realm, saint realm. It is true that such a state cannot be achieved casually, but if there is no positive mentality to become stronger, then perhaps the cultivator's state will stop here in his lifetime. So after the initial surprise, the old man in the valley also looked at Xiao Xian with satisfaction and said proactively, "The fact that you have such an idea proves that you are a very enterprising person. It seems that I have not misjudged the person. Thank you, Saint, for your love. However, I would like to suggest that you, Saint, seize your time and say something useful." Xiao Xian complained helplessly. After hearing this, the old man in the valley touched his beard in embarrassment, and then started to explain. Because a day was wasted, the speed of the explanation of the old man in the valley has also improved a lot. It's quite crude to talk about some great ways of understanding. Fortunately, Xiao Xian's talent is astonishing. For some great insights, he can basically understand most of them after just one listen. As for some of the difficult things to understand, obviously, there is still a lot of 9 Heavens thunder and lightning power in Nan Tukang Thunder Bell. Not to mention the disciples of Old Man Valley. Speaking of which, he also has the Long River of Time as his final trump card. He saw that despite releasing 2 giant 9 sky thunders, the color of Nan Tukang's thunder bell was still bright and thick, and it seemed that it was not affected at all. As for the Nan Tukang thunder bell given by the old man in the valley, high profile, Xiao Xian was stunned after hearing this. He obviously didn't expect the old man in the valley to ask like this, "You mean, I was too high profile before? I feel like it's actually okay." However, this trump card is mainly used for defense and escape, and does not have many offensive methods. Obviously, he was quite satisfied with Xiao Xian's performance. If he had the Nantukang Thunder Bell presented by the old man in the valley, then Xiao Xian would have enough confidence to be able to fight against the strong men of the Golden God Realm and the Dragon God Realm. This is best, the old man in the valley nodded. What a powerful force! Hearing this, Xiao Xian couldn't help but be stunned. But it's different now. Just after he tried to use it, Xiao Xian was also shocked by its powerful power. In the secret realm, he saw huge thunder rolling in the sky and dark clouds and lightning, as if the apocalypse was coming. I don't know, Xiao Xian replied. Even now, when they face the old man from Shanggu himself, they don't necessarily feel much fear. Besides, if I were you, I would still advise you not to keep a high profile outside, the old man in the valley said. Moreover, in just 2 days, the 9 heavens flame technique was upgraded to the 2nd level. Xiao Xian felt it. Although they are not talented, they are still considered to be powerful people on Nanzan Hai's Hu, but you are so rude to them, the old man in the valley said. For such a long time, you are the only one. Although he didn't do much for 1 day, with the understanding of these 2 days, Xiao Xian still basically memorized the inheritance of the old man in the valley. Therefore, he really didn't realize there was anything wrong with his words. With such power, I'm afraid, it will only take a moment to defeat the Dragon God Realm, right? However, although this Nantukang Thunder Bell is amazingly powerful, it is also very precious. With your methods, it is still a bit difficult to protect him, the old man in the valley said. Even a strong man in the Dragon God Realm knows that this Nantukang, the existence of Lei Ling, will also come to snatch it. Under such a powerful thunder and lightning power, even a strong person in the Dragon God Realm may not be able to withstand it. Yes, I would never use it casually unless it was a critical moment. Xiao Xian also nodded, knowing that the old man in the valley was not alarmist. When the blue flame staff was born, it almost caused a chaos in the flame cemetery. If it were allowed, those Dragon God Realm experts knew about the existence of Nantukang Lei Ling, and they were afraid that they would become even crazier. Is it? This made him admire him even more. Xiao Xian couldn't help but admired. He had never thought about such a thing before. After all, he was once the top powerhouse in Tianxian continent and Primordial continent, and he always spoke in this neither humble nor arrogant tone to others. As long as the old man in the valley can patiently explain it a few more times, he can generally understand it, which makes the old man in the valley nod one after another. However, the old man in the valley was relatively indifferent to such power. With a little control, he could make these thunder and lightning move freely, which made Xiao Xian envious. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. Do you know who my disciples were? The old man in the valley asked. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1285. Isn't it? You know, although these disciples of my disciples have not been able to enter the Saint Realm, they are still among the best among the Dragon God Realm. The old man in the valley said proudly. If any strong man in the Dragon God Realm were to fight against these disciples of this old man, he wouldn't be able to say that he could suppress them stably. For words like this, Xiao Xian had no other ideas. He could know that as the old man in the valley was in the Saint Realm, his understanding of the Great Road was naturally extremely profound. Under such circumstances, the disciples he taught are naturally of extraordinary strength, which is where his confidence lies. Facing Xiao Xian at this moment, he is also in a state of extreme confidence. Xiao Xian was non-committal about this. He admitted that if these disciples of Old Man Valley were at their peak, he would indeed be no match. But now, these disciples' bodies have perished. Now there is only a remnant soul left. Even if he is reborn with the help of the Flame Cemetery in the future, he may not be able to regain his peak strength. In this case, Xiao Xian was not that afraid. However, he was still full of awe for Old Man Valley. After all, he could feel that there seemed to be a power in Old Man Valley that he couldn't believe. For such power, Xiao Xian didn't even have the intention to resist. But after the old man of the valley said this, he was still a little curious and couldn't help but ask, "Sage of the valley, you mean that several of your disciples are all powerful men? If this is the case, why did they still fall in the flame cemetery? How do you know it's death?" the old man in the valley asked with a smile. "Isn't this the fall? I've seen it. They only have a remnant soul left. They must have fallen physically, right?" Xiao Xian also said with a puzzled look. "It is true that the body was lost, but it did not perish." The old man in the valley shook his head. "They just used another method, rebirth." Rebirth? Xiao Xian was stunned and said to himself. In fact, when he first came to the flame cemetery, he had also heard legends about this. Some strong men in the dragon god realm or even the saint realm would deliberately choose to die in this area to get a chance to be resurrected. After resurrection, there may be opportunities for improvement in strength. This is similar to the rebirth of a phoenix. Before, he only heard the old man of the tomb spirit sect say this. Now, there is an old man in the valley who is in the saint realm saying the same thing. This had to arouse Xiao Xian's curiosity. Why is there such a special property on top of the flame cemetery? Could it be, just because of that nameless flame? Thinking of this, Xiao Xian's eyes also lit up. The old man in the valley said before that the reason why he fell in this flame cemetery was precisely because of the nameless flame, and that flame was most likely the legendary holy fire. So, does this holy fire actually have the power of resurrection? May I ask the saint of the valley, what is the name of this holy fire? Xiao Xian also asked with a solemn expression. If what I predict is good, this flame should be the Lei Yan holy fire, ranked 18th on the holy fire list. It contains violent thunder and lightning power and gentle derived flames. It is a flame of destruction and survival. The old man of the valley said, if you can swallow it, you can have both powers at the same time. Nanda Blue Thunder Bell, Lei Yan Holy Fire. The properties of these two things seem to be somewhat similar. Is there any relationship between them? Xiao Xian also asked curiously. Hearing this, the old man in the valley nodded and continued, you are right about this. This Nan Tukang Thunder Bell was forged from Lei Yan's holy fire, but you actually said you wanted to get this Lei Yan holy fire. Yes, now that we have come to a place like the Flame Cemetery, I am afraid no one will believe me if I say that I am not interested in the Lei Yan holy fire. Xiao Xian nodded calmly. He didn't have to hide his thoughts. Wherever he goes, basically as long as there is a treasure, he will try his best to get it. This time, a holy fire actually appeared in the Flame Cemetery. Then, Xiao Xian has no possibility of giving up. Your level is not high, but your courage is not small. Do you know how powerful this Lei Yan's fire is? The old man in the valley couldn't help but shook his head and said, I think you should give up this idea. That won't happen. Even if my strength is not enough to get it now, I will definitely find a way to get it in the future. Xiao Xian shook his head, and suddenly looked at the old man of the valley curiously. Saint of the valley, as a strong man in the saint realm, it is impossible for you to come to the Flame Cemetery without any preparations, right? As he spoke, his face showed a bit of hope. He understood that the old man in the valley came to the Flame Cemetery this time to collect the holy fire. In this case, the latter must have a very good understanding of the Lei Yan holy fire. If he could get some of his understanding of the Lei Yan holy fire, he would definitely be able to better collect the Lei Yan holy fire. Yan Zhengguo. Even if his strength cannot be conquered now, there may be a chance to conquer him in the future. Therefore, he was still willing to listen to the advice of the old man in the valley. Good. In order to conquer this Lei Yan holy fire, I have indeed prepared a lot of things. I have prepared more than 100 kinds of spiritual herbs and elixirs with earth-level ice attributes and water attributes alone. It's just a pity. The old man in the valley shook his head with regret. It's just a pity that we failed to conquer this powerful Lei Yan holy fire in the end. If there is a chance in the future, we can consider conquering it again. Hearing these words, Xiao Xian also took a breath of air. There are more than 100 earth-level spiritual herbs and elixirs alone, so there must be no shortage of heaven-level elixirs, as well as countless other treasures and magic weapons. But that's the case. In addition, there is the old man of the valley, a strong man in the saint realm, and a group of dragon god realm disciples, but they are unable to conquer Lei Yan's holy fire. This is enough to prove how terrifying Lei Yan's holy fire is. Such a powerful force. It seems that it is not that simple to conquer the holy fire. Xiao Xian said with a bit of a wry smile, now, it is quite difficult to conquer my little golden god realm. Hearing this, the old man in the valley also touched his beard. That is true, but if you can be promoted to the golden god realm, it is not impossible to swallow Lei Yan's holy fire. Really? You mean, a cultivator in the golden god realm has a chance to swallow Lei Yan's holy fire? Xiao Xian was stunned for a moment, and the mood that had just been a little lost was restored again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1286. What I said is of course true. The old man in the valley smiled and nodded. It's just that you need to have an extremely strong physique and an extremely strong soul. Physique and soul. Xiao Xian fell into silence for a short time. How about it? Do you have confidence in your physique and soul? Do you think you can get this Lei Yan holy fire? The old man in the valley also continued to ask. I have confidence. However, with my current strength, it is a bit wishful thinking to get the holy fire, but I will continue to work hard to improve my strength. Xiao Xian thought for a moment and said seriously, at least, before leaving the secret realm, you must improve your strength to the golden god realm. Say this. Even though he was an old man in the valley, he couldn't help but be secretly surprised. Although he is now a cultivator of the saint realm, back then, he also practiced from the lowest level step by step. Naturally, he knows that there is only a one-word difference from the little golden god realm to the golden god realm, but the gap is indeed not small. Perhaps, for ordinary practitioners, it will take at least a few years, or even longer, to cultivate from the childhood golden god realm to the Dao golden god realm. However, look at Xiao Xian's appearance. He didn't seem to take this realm seriously, which really surprised the old man in the valley. Do you know that it is not that simple to break through the little golden god realm? The old man in the valley couldn't help but ask, where do you get your confidence? Of course it comes from you, the saint of the valley. Xiao Xian also put on a smile. I have already received the inheritance of a saint. If after I go out, I am still just an ordinary little golden god, I'm afraid it will be it's unreasonable. You kid. Haha. However, there is some truth to it. If a disciple who has received my inheritance is only a small golden god, it is indeed a bit unreasonable. However, the old man in the valley thought about it seriously at this time and said, in that case, I will give you another blessing to help you break through the golden god realm. What do you think? Hearing this, Xiao Xian was naturally very excited and nodded one after another. Of course he knows. Although the old man in the valley only has a trace of regret now, he was also a strong man in the saint realm back then. A person of this level can easily enter the golden god realm if he gives him a little help. In fact, let alone the golden god realm, even the dragon god realm is a matter of seconds. At this time, a golden light suddenly appeared from the hands of the old man in the valley, and then slowly poured into Xiao Xian's body. Enter the body with the light. Xiao Xian felt that a gentle and majestic power was slowly instilled into his body. At the same time, his realm was constantly improving, slowly reaching the barrier of the little golden god realm. Is this the power of the Great Avenue? At this moment, after feeling the changes in his body, Xiao Xian was secretly surprised. He couldn't help but said to himself, as expected of the saint, this little bit of power can actually increase my power. So much. At this time, Xiao Xian said this, but his body did not stop at all. After running the exercises on the body. After the Shenlong cultivation technique was activated, his sea of qi slowly refined the power of the avenue. His whole body was like a sponge, constantly absorbing the majestic power of the avenue. At the same time, the old man in the valley also felt a little surprised. For an ordinary person in the little golden god realm, he can help the latter break through to the golden god realm as long as he uses less than 1% of his power. But now, he has used 2% of the power of the avenue. Xiao Xian's insights on the Tianqian continent and the Great Desolate Continent can actually be used on the Dao continent. Although that day may not come soon. This actually aroused the curiosity of the old man in the valley. This is absolutely incredible. Is this the Golden God realm? But now, the old man in the valley didn't find any sign that his body couldn't bear it. Xiao Xian also felt that the power of the avenue given by the old man in the valley was enough to break through, so he no longer hesitated and directly chose to attack the avenue barrier that hindered his breakthrough. If this is true, it may be possible in the future for him to understand the most original secret of Dao continent. This was definitely something beyond his expectation. At this time, the old man in the valley standing in front of him was no less surprised than him. This really surprised him. Under such impact, Xiao Xian has already felt the change in power in his body. At the same time, he seems to have some vague understanding of the power of the surrounding space. On the contrary, he also felt that the power of the avenue he had instilled was a little bit insufficient, and it was not enough to support Xiao Xian's breakthrough. Golden God Realm. The old man in the valley also said with emotion on his face, it seems that your future is indeed limitless. Open your eyes again. It is impossible for Xiao Xian not to know this truth. You know, the power of space should only be understood by practitioners in the Dragon God realm. Who knew that now, he could actually understand it. He didn't feel sorry for these great powers. He was just a little shocked by the size of Xiao Xian's qi. He didn't expect that the latter's qi could be so big. It even made him a little unbelievable. I didn't expect you to have such a powerful qi. He really wanted to see how much qi Xiao Xian had and how much power of the Dao he needed to help him break through. It seemed that it was absolutely necessary to use so much Dao power, but Xiao Xian just absorbed 5% of his Dao power. However, Xiao Xian has no intention of breaking through the realm. Instead, he is still eagerly absorbing the power of the avenue. This is very important. For ordinary practitioners in the little golden god realm. Under the huge power of the avenue, his body's bones and meridians also changed little by little, becoming more solid and stronger. In this case. But despite this, he was still shocked by the terrifying power on the Dao continent. However, after Xiao Xian thought about it for a while, he roughly understood the reason. After all, he had understood the power of space in both the primordial continent and Tianqian continent. Xiao Xian's body also underwent some unusual changes. At that moment, he raised his head seriously. It took a long time to burn incense. But Xiao Xian has enough confidence. He believes that as long as he practices seriously and moves forward step by step, he will definitely see the dawn of victory. You must know that for a cultivator, the sea of qi in the body is limited, and it is impossible to swallow too much power of the avenue at once, otherwise it is very likely to explode and die. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1287. Don't dare take it. Regarding the words of the old man in the valley, Xiao Xian also said humbly, I am only in the golden god realm. How dare I say that I have a bright future? I can only rely on your help, the saint, to slowly improve. Hearing this, the old man in the valley also touched his beard and nodded with satisfaction. Speaking of which, the old man in the valley is also a practitioner who has been practicing for thousands of years. Naturally, he has his own understanding of cultivating a discipline, and he can also understand that what a talented disciple like Xiao Xian lacks most is not magic pills. What is lacking most is actually time and mentality. With Xiao Xian's outstanding talent, as long as he has enough time and a stable mentality, he will definitely become a strong player in the future. As for the other aspect, if there are still some opportunities, the strength can be greatly improved, but the more important thing in practicing is time and mentality. But now, the old man in the valley was still surprised to find out. Xiao Xian, a young cultivator, not only has excellent talent, but also has a stable mentality, which makes him happy. No. On the great Dao continent, cultivating geniuses is like a crucian carp crossing a river, but only 1 out of 10 can become a strong person in the end. The old man in the valley shook his head and said, but I think that if you can maintain your mentality and practice seriously, you may become a strong man in Nanzan Haizu in the future. Hear this. Xiao Xian nodded. He could feel that when the old man in the valley said this, he did still trust him. However, his real purpose is not just to look south to Haizu. If there is really a chance in the future, he would not mind becoming the person standing at the top of the entire continent. Thank you, Saint of the Valley. There's still half a day left, I don't know, is there anything else you want to teach? Xiao Xian thought for a moment, then changed the subject and asked. At this, the old man in the valley was also stunned. You know, he was a little worried before. 3 days was not enough for Xiao Xian to fully obtain his inheritance. But now it seems that 3 days is not only enough time. Even half a day extra? This really surprised him. That's all. However, since you have this opportunity, why don't I transfer some great power to you? Let you directly enter the dragon god realm. The old man in the valley also smiled and asked, in this way, it will be easy for you to enter the Zhongzhou sect. Then forget it? Xiao Xian shook his head and refused directly. Oh? Why? The old man in the valley also asked deliberately. Sage, please stop making fun of me. Didn't you just say that you need to practice step by step and don't rush for success? Naturally, this junior will not lose his judgment for the sake of a dragon god realm, Xiao Xian also said. That's right, the old man in the valley nodded. If an ordinary person heard about such an opportunity, he would have lost his mind a long time ago. It's rare for you to have such a calm idea. Hey. Junior believes that you can take shortcuts in cultivation, but you cannot take such shortcuts. Xiao Xian also said seriously. After saying that, he stopped wasting time and began to concentrate on studying the 9 heavens flame Ju in front of him. According to the situation, in the minds of many trialists, Xiao Xian's strength was actually very average, and he only relied on luck to win the favor of the old man in the valley. People like Qin Feng and Chen Meng all had unclear looks in their eyes. Some were jealous, some were envious, and some were full of hatred. Therefore, although his current level is not high. Elder brother, you said that Xiao Xian's talent was the highest among us, so tell me, how many % of master's inheritance can he get? A disciple who looked like a scholar took the initiative to ask Ao Cheng. Perhaps because of the advice from the old man in the valley, his understanding of the 9 heavens flame technique was not slow. In just 3 days, he had already comprehended the second level of the 9 heavens flame technique. At such a speed of cultivation, even the old man in the valley nodded frequently. Because of his previous training experience, he has a good understanding of the way of flames. It seems that you don't have that much trust in Xiaoxian. The scholar shook his head and said. He said this sentence. When Xiaoxian walked out of the secret realm created by the old man in the valley step by step, almost everyone's eyes were focused on him. Not just the disciples of the old man in the valley, but all the disciples of the tomb spirit sect. Maybe, in this life, I will never be as lucky as Xiaoxian to get one-on-one guidance from a strong person in the saint realm. Not to mention, Xiaoxian is still the nominal disciple of old man Gu. But the understanding of some avenues is relatively thorough. Maybe for others, if there is a technique like Nine Heavens Flame Ju, it will probably take a lot of energy to study the core of it. Ao Qing shook his head and said, maybe before, I thought he would not get the inheritance, but I didn't expect Master to trust him so much. Xiaoxian has successfully reached the Golden God Realm Cultivator, and coupled with the second level of Nan Tukang Lei Ling and Nine Heavens Flame Ju, his current strength is no longer afraid of other Golden God realms present. At dawn on the third day. In fact, it's not that powerful. As for his own strength, it's not that he has any doubts about his talent. Why has it suddenly changed again now? If someone wants to go against him, wouldn't it be against the old man of the valley? How could the old man of the valley stand idly by? Although Xiaoxian was already the strongest among them before he entered the secret realm of the old man in the valley, the reason why Xiaoxian was able to enter such a secret realm was to obtain the inheritance. The most important reason is still the frozen stairs. In fact, even some disciples of the old man in the valley think so. You know, Ao Qing's evaluation of Xiaoxian was pretty good before. The other disciples of Old Man Valley also looked at each other with a bit of surprise on their faces. Although the Nine Heavens Flame technique is considered an amazing skill on the Dao continent, ever since Xiaoxian embarked on the path of cultivation, he has never lacked opportunities to experience top-notch skills. Now, what they are most concerned about now is Xiaoxian's strength. On the contrary, I am just a little worried about his current state. After all, he is only in the little golden god state. Even if the master can teach him everything, he may not be able to fully understand it. But such a thing is not that difficult for Xiaoxian. After all, for them, it's hard to say. You have all seen Master's inheritance, and it is not something that ordinary people can understand. Ao Qing shook his head. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1288. Among these disciples of the old man of the valley. As a senior brother, Ao Qing is the highest among their disciples in terms of strength and status. Now he has a questioning attitude towards Xiaoxian's strength, and the other disciples have worries on their faces. That's such a shame. It seems that this is the first time since Master has publicly searched for his successor after he became a saint. If he cannot inherit, it will be a waste of Master's hard work. If I had known earlier, I might as well have let me get Master's inheritance. Several disciples discussed with jealousy on their faces. However, when they saw Xiaoxian coming out of the secret realm and walking in front of them, their faces did look strange. They discovered that Xiaoxian had actually broken through the little golden god realm and reached the real golden god realm. This really surprised them. You know, although there is only one word difference between the little golden god realm and the golden god realm, the gap is definitely not small. If you don't have enough power, breaking through this realm is not that simple. They still recognize Xiaoxian's talent, and naturally know that it is only a matter of time before he breaks through. But what they didn't expect was, in just 3 days, Xiaoxian completed a realm breakthrough, which was something they could hardly imagine. This Xiaoxian has actually reached the golden god realm. How did he do it in just 3 days? Could it be that he was already at the peak of the little golden god realm before entering the frozen stairs? Even so, if he wants to break through to the golden god realm, how come there is no movement at all? What's more, he should seize the time to study the master's inheritance in these 3 days. Where can he have time to break through? Then there is only one possibility. It was the master who gave him the power of the avenue. In the end, it was Ao Ching who made the final decision and said, "I've known for a long time that master values him, but I didn't expect that he would value him to such an extent and directly use the power of the great Dao to help him break through the realm." At this moment, the disciples present were surprised. They have followed Old Man Valley for many years, and naturally they have some understanding of Old Man Valley's temper. They also all know that Old Man Valley usually treats his disciples quite strictly. Basically, Old Man Gu was never polite to disciples who had little talent. Over the years. Not to mention that they have been transmitted by the power of the Great Avenue, it is already considered very good if they are not criticized by the Old Man in the Valley. But now, the Old Man in the Valley is so kind to Xiaoxian. If the realm is low, just use the power of the Great Avenue to transmit it. This method of improving one's realm is probably only used between people with extremely close relationships. However, Xiaoxian and the Old Man in the Valley had only known each other for a few days. Under such circumstances, how could he be so trusted? This is something that many disciples do not understand. Why does Master trust him so much? Is it just because his talent is good? Our talent is not weak either. Directly using the power of the Dao to help Xiaoxian improve his realm is too pampering for him. Master's thoughts are really unpredictable. Several disciples looked at each other with suspicion on their faces. In their view, it was quite unexpected that the Old Man in the Valley was willing to face Xiaoxian one-on-one to teach his inheritance. Who knows now? The Old Man in the Valley actually transmitted the power of the Great Road to Xiaoxian in this way to help the latter improve his realm. This is absolutely something they can't imagine. At the same time, also surprised were Qin Feng and Chen Meng, who had been watching. They were also a little confused. If the Old Man in the Valley just took a fancy to Xiaoxian's talent, then it would be enough to teach him his inheritance carefully. Why did he give him the power of the Great Avenue in the end? Or even directly help him improve his realm? This was something they didn't expect. After all, cultivating a path originally requires more time and precipitation. Only with enough understanding of the path can one truly gain a firm foothold in a realm. The method of improving one's realm like Xiaoxian's, although fast, is not stable and is equivalent to overthrowing the talent. Even if he temporarily reaches the realm of the Golden God, it does not mean that he can have enough strength in the Golden God realm. But that's the case. Qin Feng and Chen Meng were also envious. After all, not everyone has the opportunity to transmit the power of the Great Dao in the Saint realm. What's more, since the Old Man in the Valley can choose to transmit the power of the Great Road to Xiaoxian, it is enough to show his recognition of Xiaoxian, and maybe he will give him more magic treasures. Such a situation naturally makes them both envious. I didn't expect that Xiaoxian could be so capable. Even the Old Man in the Valley was deceived by him. Chen Meng said bitterly, "It's really annoying." Who says it's not? But why does Xiaoxian gain so much trust? Qin Feng also looked indignant and said angrily, "However, after this guy has reached the Golden God realm, it will still be a bit troublesome for us to target them." Unexpectedly, when he said this, he received a big eye roll from Chen Meng. This also made Qin Feng a little embarrassed. In fact, after being defeated by Xiaoxian 1-against-2 on the frozen stairs, he really felt a little guilty when facing Xiaoxian. Although he is at the peak of the Golden God realm. In terms of realm, he is naturally higher than Xiaoxian, who has just reached the Golden God realm. But even so, when he faced Xiaoxian head-on, he still felt a little guilty in his heart. Even with Chen Meng beside him, he didn't dare to say anything big. At this time, Chen Meng said with contempt, "If you don't dare to deal with him, then push him away. I am bound to get the inheritance of the old man in the valley." Say this. Qin Feng's face suddenly turned a little red. He also roughly knew that Chen Meng had a strong personality, but he really didn't expect that she would say that and actually want to snatch the inheritance of the old man in the valley. This is no small thing. You know, the old man in the valley is a master in the saint realm. It would be a good thing if you can get his inheritance. But at this moment, Xiao Xian seems to have obtained all the inheritance, and his realm has also been improved. It does not seem to be that simple to target him again. What's more important is that Xiao Xian's current identity is the disciple of the old man in the valley. If you want to target him, or even rob him of his inheritance, isn't this going against the old man of the valley? Anyway, the old man in the valley is also a powerful person in the saint realm. Even though it's just a remnant soul now, who knows if he has any other means? At least, anyone with a discerning eye would know that he would not just watch his successor be killed so easily. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1289. So, what are you going to do? Under Chen Meng's gaze, Qin Feng also felt a little guilty and couldn't help but ask. The old man of the valley must have given him the holy weapon. How about killing Xiao Xian? The sacred weapon belongs to you, and the inheritance belongs to me. Do you have the courage? Chen Meng looked at Qin Feng and said directly with contempt. Qin Feng has been pursuing Chen Meng for a long time, but the latter ignored him. This made him very depressed. But now, with Chen Meng talking to him like this, Qin Feng felt that he had a chance. If he could really help kill Xiao Xian, not only would he get the sacred weapon, wouldn't he also gain Chen Meng's favor? Calculated this way, it seems to be a sure profit without loss. Faced with such a situation, Qin Feng was really moved. Are you so sure that this guy must have a sacred weapon on his body? Qin Feng couldn't help but licked his lips and looked at Chen Meng with burning eyes. Nature. I already investigated it before coming to the Flame Cemetery. There are at least 3 sacred artifacts in the tomb of the old man in the valley. Under such circumstances, since Xiao Xian has obtained his inheritance, it is impossible not to give him a sacred artifact. Chen Meng said confidently. Hearing this, Qin Feng also showed a trace of greed in his eyes. In that case, I have another request. I hope that after killing Xiao Xian, you and I can become Taoist couples. How about that? Chen Meng frowned when he said such words. To her, Qin Feng is just a useful tool. After practicing as a casual cultivator for so many years, she naturally understands that for a casual cultivator, the most important thing is strength. If he can get the inheritance from the old man in the valley, his strength will naturally be greatly improved. As for the holy weapon that the old man of the valley gave to Xiao Xian, now that she has the strength, she is bound to win. As for Qin Feng, a dog-licking suitor, he is just a tool to be used, and will have little value after use. Promising him now will only temporarily stabilize him. Okay, I agree. However, we have to wait until you kill Xiao Xian with your own hands. Chen Meng also had a smile on his face and said warmly, do you think we can kill Xiao Xian if we join forces? Get Chen Meng's answer. Qin Feng suddenly felt as if he had been given a shot of chicken blood. He was excited and said, of course it can. What does Xiao Xian mean? For so many years, you and I are still quite famous in Nanzan Haizu. What did he calculate? That's right, in that case, we'll do it as soon as we get out of the cemetery. A charming smile appeared on Chen Meng's face. No problem. Qin Feng couldn't help but walked forward and put his arms around Chen Meng's waist, with a smile on his face. Hated seeing Qin Feng agree, Chen Meng felt a little more proud in his heart, but on the surface he still looked shy, and then a cold light flashed in his eyes. Xiao Xian, your death day has come. At the same time, other trialists also began to predict Xiao Xian's strength. Some people say that Xiao Xian has received the inheritance from the old man in the valley and has also improved his level. Now his strength will definitely be greatly improved, even surpassing ordinary poor people in the dragon god realm. Some people also say that Xiao Xian's previous strength came from his own great path. Now that he has the inheritance of the old man of the valley, there may be conflicts and it is not impossible that his strength will shrink. It is precisely because of such rumors. Some casual cultivators and even large sect disciples looked at Xiao Xian with strange eyes. For them, the temptation of the inheritance of the old man of the valley is still great. Even though they admit that their talent and strength may not be as good as Xiao Xian's, and therefore they cannot be recognized by the old man of the valley, this does not mean that they will give up their pursuit of the old man of the valley's inheritance. Not to mention, there might actually be a holy weapon on Xiao Xian at this moment. Sacred weapon, this is a magic weapon that would make practitioners of the Dragon God realm excited. If they can obtain it in the Golden God realm, their strength will naturally be greatly improved. In normal times, magic weapons of this level would rarely appear, let alone fight for them. Now, Xiao Xian, a person who has just entered the Golden God realm, may actually possess a sacred weapon. This is no different than a child carrying a lot of money through the busy city. It is a rare thing not to be robbed by others. Not to mention, the people who can now enter the tomb of the old man in the valley are basically practitioners who have been living in chaotic places like the Flame Cemetery for many years. In their concept, strength is everything. As long as they have enough things, they can steal anything from anyone. Xiao Xian, you finally came out. 3 days have passed. Have you received the inheritance from the old man of the valley? At this time, seeing Xiao Xian coming out, the first person to rush forward was Tum Qing. At this moment, Tum Qing was already admiring Xiao Xian as the core disciple of Tum spirit sect. When he first met Xiao Xian, he just thought that Xiao Xian might be a young man with some talent and good strength, but he was also a little arrogant. This time entering the tomb of the old man in the valley would probably teach the latter a lesson. But who knew that the person who learned the lesson in the end would be himself? He never expected that Xiao Xian, a cultivator of the little golden god realm, would eventually become the most important person in their tomb exploration. He also had to admit it. If Xiao Xian hadn't been present during this tomb exploration, their tomb spirit sect would have suffered even greater losses in the end. What's more important is if Xiao Xian gets the inheritance from the old man in the valley. So, in terms of status, he is already a disciple of the old man of the valley. If Xiao Xian has a good relationship with the tomb spirit sect in the future, wouldn't the tomb spirit sect's status in the Flame Cemetery be higher? Senior brother Tum Qing is really too honest. Have you really not noticed that my master's realm has reached the Golden God realm? If he hadn't received the inheritance, how could his realm have improved so fast? Ha ha ha. Bai Ling asked with a smile. After saying such words, all the disciples of the tomb spirit sect also looked envious. You know, although they are already in the Golden God realm. However, I clearly remember the hardships I experienced during the cultivation process at that time. But what happened today was also an eye-opener for them. They never imagined that Xiao Xian, a little golden god realm, could improve his realm in such a simple way. Just because he showed his extraordinary talent, he was noticed by a strong man in the saint realm like the old man in the valley. Not only did he get the inheritance from the latter, but he also upgraded his realm to the golden god realm. Such a thing would be a great blessing for any cultivator. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1290. Blame me, Blame me. I didn't realize it. It turns out that young Master Xiao Xian's strength has improved so quickly. It's because of my blindness. Tum Qing also said quickly. When these words came out, Xiao Xian didn't care and said with a smile, Brother Tum Qing is too polite. We all came to the cemetery together, so there is no need to be so polite. Golden God Realm, I have indeed reached it. As expected. After hearing Xiao Xian's answer, Tum Qing's eyes lit up, and he knew the answer to his question. It seems that Xiao Xian has indeed received the inheritance from the old man in the valley, and may even have received a more important opportunity, but it may not be convenient to say these things in public. Master Xiao Xian, you have really helped our Tomb Spirit sect a lot. Tum Qing also looked grateful. Don't dare to take it seriously. If it weren't for the help of Tomb Spirit sect, maybe I wouldn't even have a chance to enter here. Xiao Xian also said seriously. At the same time, they also noticed that the other sect disciples also focused their attention. Obviously, they are also very interested in the inheritance of the old man of the valley. Everyone, as long as the mountains are green and the water is flowing, our Tomb Spirit sect does not want to be enemies with you, but we are not afraid of your challenge. Young Master Xiao Xian is a friend of our Tomb Spirit section. I hope everyone will not cause trouble for him, Tum Qing noted. After catching the eyes of the people around him, he said politely. This, young Master Tum Qing, it seems that Xiao Xian is not a disciple of your Tomb Spirit sect, right? Yes, does your Tomb Spirit sect want to protect him? The inheritance of the old man of the valley is so important and is the wealth of all of us. Why can't we share it? Some trialists were also talking about it. The purpose of their trip was basically to find the holy artifacts in the tomb. They did not expect that the inheritance of the old man of the valley would appear, which was an unexpected surprise for them. But what makes them dissatisfied is, such a precious inheritance was actually obtained by an ordinary Xiao Xian of the little golden god realm. Not to mention, the latter also relied on such means to elevate his realm to the golden god realm. How could such a thing not make them envious? At this moment, since someone took the initiative to bring it up, it naturally attracted the support of some people. They followed the trend and asked Xiao Xian to hand over the inheritance of the old man in the valley. In fact, let alone Xiao Xian and Tum Qing, even they would not believe such a thing. But they know better. The purpose of doing this is to find a suitable excuse and find excuses and opportunities to cause trouble for Xiao Xian in the future. He. If you want the inheritance of the old man of the valley, just go find the saint of the valley yourself. Why are you looking for me? Provocation to these people. Xiao Xian stood up directly and said rudely, is it possible that you still want to get the inheritance for nothing? Isn't this a bit fanciful? What he said was very powerful, and he was still facing a group of powerful people in the Golden God realm. In the end, only Xiao Xian was able to resist the power of fear by himself and get the inheritance from the old man in the valley. Unexpectedly, from Qin Feng's mouth, it would become the credit of everyone. Many casual cultivators also had expressions of anger and dissatisfaction on their faces, obviously disapproving of Xiao Xian's words. At that time, on the frozen stairs, even though you were the first to reach the second half, the force on the stairs was carried by everyone together. Perhaps, these sect disciples still have some fear among themselves and would not take action directly, but now that they know that Xiao Xian has the inheritance of the old man of the valley, this has almost brought out the greed in their hearts. In an instant, it also attracted the attention of all the trialists. Hearing these words, Xiao Xian couldn't help but sneered. Tomb Spirit Sect. But at that time, it was obvious that everyone was suffering from this powerful fear. There is indeed a power of fear above the frozen stairs. As expected of you, Qin Feng. Say this. Qin Feng stood up and said boldly, so, although you have received the inheritance from the old man in the valley, you should also separate these inheritances for everyone to learn from. Xiao Xian sneered, I really don't know why there are so many idiots who still recognize your strength. It's really funny to think about. Therefore, this final inheritance should of course be shared. If the old man in the valley can cultivate to the saint realm, he must have his own merits. If he can get his inheritance, it will definitely help his strength to greatly improve. This is very important for the youth conference to start soon. Speaking of which, every trialist who participated in the frozen stairs has merit. Qinfeng still dares to claim that he is the leader of some kind of rogue cultivator? Apart from being shameless, these words really don't make any sense. Qinfeng, when you say this, do you mean you don't take our tomb spirit sect seriously? Tomb Qing was a little annoyed and pointed at Qinfeng and said. After all, Xiao Xian's sentence was a bit too much, including all the trialists. Not to mention, Xiao Xian may still have a sacred weapon with him. For a time, it also aroused dissatisfaction and irritation among the cultivators, and they began to discuss it one after another. I've seen shameless ones. Even if he doesn't want to attract others' attention, it will be difficult. This is why so many people are paying attention to Xiao Xian now. Do you really think you can leave easily in front of so many people? Qinfeng saw Xiao Xian was unconvinced and sneered, today, if you don't hand over your inheritance, there is no way you can leave here. Everyone knows. Speaking of which, among these cultivators, he and Chen Meng were the most famous. No matter how strong the tomb spirit sect is, can it still be stronger than all of us? If placed before Brother Xiao Xian, this is a bit selfish. Among them, the first person to stand up was Qinfeng. Although he had never competed with Xiao Xian on the frozen stairs before, many people still supported him when he stood up due to the shadow of the famous tree and the reputation he had gained from his previous struggles in the Flame Cemetery. Isn't this the most ridiculous thing in the world? I've never seen anyone so shameless. I originally thought that you could be regarded as a leader among casual cultivators, with at least some bottom line in what you say and do. Now it seems that you have no bottom line at all. Qinfeng raised his head slightly and looked at Tomb Green with sinister eyes.